more than welcome to, we have some cups and some water back there. Maybe help yourself to some popcorn. Come for the popcorn, stay for the entertainment. Okay. Anyway, do you have some minutes?
You have minutes?
There it is. I can always tell by the guy with the little red hat.
I don't have any comments or corrections.
No, they're pretty accurate. I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second. John?
Yes.
TJ?
Yes.
Mike? Yes.
Okay, as you know, this is a year for a truck replacement on our normal schedule. We asked Mr. Ludwig at the road department. He's been reviewing trucks here for several months now to see if we need to make any changes to what we've been doing in the past, any recommendations. So I'm going to give you the floor, Mike, and I have.
Every trustee got a packet for the trucks, and the typical how I spec the sheets further back are how I spec them out to show the apples to apples on them, and then just a quick comparison on the front sheet for pricing, and that I put the major components apples to apples on it. We were running internationals. We were pretty happy with them from the beginning. We're starting to see a lot of manufacturers' issues with the trucks, mainly that we're starting to see on the second oldest truck is a lot of electrical issues. So we started looking at where can we get a little more simplistic on the maintenance of these, because we're just starting to see it start to rear its ugly head on. So we looked at the Max and the simplicity of it, that they got rid of the one system, which international they use a multiplex system on it, which is basically low voltage to run a switch, and then instead of just old school where it's running from 12 volt to switch to your fixture, your light bulb. So we looked at the Max, we looked at the Western Stars. The manufacturers both brought the trucks out to us. We talked to them what their selling features of it was, and what we saw was, it seems like with the Mac and the Western Stars, that hopefully our maintenance costs can be lowered because of, we're hoping that we get away from these electrical issues. And then we did do a couple changes that we did beef them up a little bit more. We found out that where we thought we were good on the axles, we beefed them up a little bit more. Hopefully that we're not going to break any more leaf springs, which were typically one set per the lifetime of the truck, and trying to take more of the painted products off the truck, where it cuts down on the maintenance to keep the trucks looking as good as they can over the lifespan. Where a article might be $100, over the time of 12 to 14 years of having this truck, you got to keep scraping and painting and all that, where it's you don't have to look at it again. So we looked at a bunch of that, and we did talk to Mano. Had a Mac, they liked it. They were running their trucks on a longer lifespan, a 30-year lifespan. They're paying a little more up front, but apparently they feel over the long lifespan that that's a very good value for their dollar, where our lifespan's almost half. So we looked at that. I did talk to Auburn Township. They did buy a Western Star also. They were running internationals, and so far after one winter, they've been very happy with it. No major issues with the truck. They did have one issue with their air ride. The dealer took care of it, no problem. So that's pretty much where we were sitting with it. As you can see, the pricing, these were all under ODOT contract, which is under the state STS contracts. So, does the board have any questions?
The warranty's the same on it?
Yeah.
did you find R&R truck sales like?
Actually, what happened is, Brian from Manoa gave us her card, Andrea Blake, and she was out of Southington, and she actually came out, and she started the ball with us probably back in December. She gave us just a plain, what their kind of typical package is, what municipalities were doing, and then she actually brought us out a truck that was built that Mike and Mark were able to drive and look at it. That's how we found her. R&R Mac is under the STS contract. So that's how we ended up finding them. It was basically a referral from Manoa Township, even though
They use Sidley though, don't they?
right, Sidley is not under STS. They actually get it through R&R, which a lot of the dealers, if you're not under state terms, you're basically buying from them, or you're trying to go to the NJPA, which is a large governmental contract, but the pricing isn't as good through them as with the STS, which the state puts out for these manufacturers.
What kind of body are we looking at here?
The body the upfit that we're looking at doing is we're basically replicating truck 18s. We're running with the Godwin stainless body again, 1/4-inch floors. We did make a modification to coal chutes, but that was no major issue. We made one change on the plow. It's a Gledhill plow again with Gledhill hitch, which we're running that on all of our trucks. And we're running Component Technologies, which is from the truck that we first had built by Gledhill in 2007. We like it because we're getting good technical support from them. And that one, if we have one unit go out, we can put another head control in it by putting a pigtail to adapt it. So we pretty much stayed with the identical build minus a couple little tweaks in it. And again, we added a couple things on that. We went to stainless hydraulic tank. We're noticing that every single tank, no matter how much you're taking care of them, they're seeping. And that Emmerich's is 4 years old and his is already starting to seep. And it's another one of those, you keep painting them. If you can't keep them sealed and you get a leak, now you got to buy another tank, which means you got to switch the valve body out, you got to replumb it, you have to redo the whole situation on that. And the only other thing that we added that is removable and we can move from truck to truck is we did it's basically a spring-loaded asphalt tarp, where it's 4 bolts up front, you pull it back, you tie it back, there's no more crawling on the sides of the trucks. To keep rolling these back, wintertime 4 bolts, just like we've been doing with the old manual, basically hand roll them out. 4 bolts, we throw them up against the wall, same thing will happen with this system. So, but that was pretty much really the only changes that we did. We've been happy with the galleon body. We haven't seen any structural cracks in them. Where we have started to notice some issues with the Henderson, it's starting to have some cracks underneath on it because it's only a 4-inch long cylinder instead of an 8-inch. Where we all know that our roads aren't the smoothest, especially in the winter. You're loading it, you're flexing that body a lot. And with that, we want to go back to Judco because pretty much Judco's been doing service for us. We looked at one of their builds. We've been out to their facility probably 3 or 4 times, and basically your bodies and your components, they're only let out to certain dealers. So, like if we wanted to do a build through Concord, for instance, that does it, they cannot get that system. Which is crucial. We're trying to keep everything that we're in one system in all the trucks, so everybody understands that even if it's a newer system, they all know how to run one from another. So, and it kind of locks you to the market. I did talk to Gledhill. They said they wanted us to go through Judco, which basically they're getting all the components, major components from Gledhill anyways. and that, but it's still under state contract. Whatever Gledge Hill has it quoted is what Jugco has to quote us for it, so. And that, so I'm recommending, that was the one quote that I only had one, but I want to go with Jugco on this build. I did talk to Rob more than once. He has the original copy that I sent him our expectations. He broke it down, but it's the timeline that he has to hit the timelines.
What's that gonna be?
October 15th is the latest delivery date. And that he feels very confident. He only needs a 45 to 60 days. Talking to the chassis company, they will see it by the beginning of July, so that gives them 3.5 months to get this unit together for us. But we did put in the stipulations, we have to approve the electric, the hydraulic hosing, everything, and he did put it in his, until we're 100% happy, there's no exceptions. And I think being a smaller builder, it shouldn't be an issue of, he knows our expectations, so it should be very minor things on it.
Where's Judco?
Elyria, off of Grafton Road.
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah. And that, we have one truck out there, 15's out there right now doing a hydraulics on it, so. But if we need anything, the one parts guy, he brings us parts if we need it. He lives in Bainbridge, so it's nice that I can call and normally next day or 2 days we get the piece from him. But typically we don't have a lot of issues with the bodies.
Okay.
Well, in this case, and as opposed to some of the other equipment we bought, there's a pretty wide disparity in pricing.
Yes.
What's that, close to 30%?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very big, we're shocked at how much the span was on them.
Yeah.
We did know that the Macs were a little pricier, but even though it looks pricey, Auburn Township had theirs done back in 15, I believe. And even though it's like you said, PJ, there's a big varying in the pricing. We did add a couple little things, but pretty much their price back in 15 is the same pricing that they would have today if I did apples to apples on it, which is, you would think that'd be a couple % more from year to year just because of cost of living, cost of product for it, so.
Well, government additions too.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, you're wanting to go to a Western Star, is that what you're saying?
My gut feeling of it is going with the Western Star. Next to the Mac, they seemed pretty much the same truck. The Mac, to be honest with you, it seemed a little bit nicer on the inside, but for the price increase to have where it was a little sleeker here, or this was turned a little bit, we talked about it more than once, that for the amount that we could save, that gets us a lot on the body build, because we're trying to keep them relatively economical, but, cut down on the maintenance also. Where we're trying to get rid of this multiplex or minimize it, there's still multiplex always between the transmission and the engine, but all the extras are running, your headlights, your windshield wipers, everything. It gets rid of this where it's basically a bigger wire that goes in, and then it looks like a speaker wire that comes out the other side that tells it to do the function, where we're more of the old school where you're looking at a 16 gauge wire that's turning on a light. And Western Star, we did talk with them. The salesman, he sells Freightliners too, and I go, tell me the difference. He said, Freightliner has multiplex, the Western Star doesn't. And I said, well, we know that if we want to steer away from it, we want to try to get away from it the best we can. And talking with the guys, and that we truly felt that what we're starting to see in just one truck with the International And the way that the mechanic spoke, we might see more issues coming down is maybe we need to stop and re-look before we keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper, but maintain a good business relationship for service on the IHs, the internationals, due to the fact that we still have to run all the way out to roughly 2029 on Emmerich trucks. So it's move and think that we're doing the proper thing, which we feel that we are. And it's more that stuff that we can work on if it's electrical issue where it seems like a lot of it when they're chasing it down, it's a lot in the computer to trace this down. So.
Well, that's the one thing with the internationals, you have to have a laptop, you have to have Diamond Logic. The software that you have to purchase is very, very pricey.
Right,
It's
like,
continually updated, even the mechanics we know in the area, when they're trying to service these trucks, they're not finding these glitches. And what Mike's talking about, going back to old school with the probe and a 12-volt light, you can
Right.
chase down your problems
right.
without having to secure that pipe.
Chronic, and we're running it for international.
We had a
That's
tech
all.
from Rush
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
that was roughly 2 weeks ago.
We had a tech from Rush come out because all of a sudden the lights, the motor, the windshield wipers, the heater, whatever,
Right.
on Mark's truck would just go on by themselves.
Yeah, the windshield wipers were very erratic, and they still have to come back and chase it one more time where you shut the truck off, you put the parking brake on, you slam the door, the brake lights are flashing on and off. He actually goes underneath the hood and physically unplugs it every time. And they're still trying to chase that.
Are they finding on mostly electrical components, cards are failing, or is it connections?
It could be connections, it could be the wires. There was a big block, they call it the body control module on that truck. And on Mark's truck, that was not put inside. Mine got moved inside. After that, they started putting them inside. But if that board dies, it's over $1,300 to just put this new one in. And literally, they take out every little pin and they put it in a brand new board. And it's probably about that big of a block that they have to deal with. And that.
We had Rush has got a program, that's who services these IHs now. They sent a guy out in a brand new truck, service truck. They just put this program in effect where I think there's 14 of them.
Right. 14.
And this young guy that came out here, he knew this thing up and down, sideways. It still took him 5.5 hours of working with this computer to try to find the spot where the problem was in Mark's truck. And it finally came down to this little piece of metal, not yay big, that had cracked almost in half. But every time the truck hit a bump or you closed the door, that was causing this thing to send signals through to these low voltage wires to do something. After he thought he got it fixed, he no sooner was leaving, because I was waiting to shut the garage because we were out plowing, Emmerich calls his trucks. I forget what was wrong with your truck.
Warm air intake.
Some kind of another electrical problem.
And
And they had to
that's,
solve that with the Diamond Logic computer, and he said the techs were having a hell of a time finding it because it's a physical problem with your louvers actually where they sort of get stuck shut, but the computer doesn't show it, and he was able to go in there and do an update for me and make it work.
In talking to this rep, I said, well, I guess it's pretty tough for a guy like us to say, well, I'm going to buy this computer. And he says, don't waste your money. I use this all day long. Every month or two, there's another edition of software that comes out. And you could never keep up with all of these changes
and you watch the troubleshooting when you look at the screen, and it's great because some of it they're looking for a digital signal on it, some of it they're looking for an analog. Where we're more, tell me if I got 12 volts at the other end. Where some of these are pulling 1 volt, 2 volt. The only way to figure that out is what the computer tells you to do.
Everything on the computerized systems are very sensitive on grounding issues too.
Right.
You get somebody that spreads salt for a living, it's a bad atmosphere for them.
But I mean, we went from both spectrums on this that Mark's truck's the oldest, not the oldest, but the first one that we started seeing problems, all the way to Emmerich's is the newest ones, and it's both, we've been having issues pretty much with Mark's truck, from turbos and everything else. We've had some emissions issues with John's. Knock on wood, I haven't had any issues with mine. Emmerich's had a couple. So we really think trying to make the change, we can, for the little bit of the increase now over the longevity, we think that we can pick that up over the life of the truck, being able to do more service in the house. Because right after, it was probably in 2009, Power City, which is Rush now, they invited Mark and I to a seminar over at Solon, and they made that Diamond Logic sound like if you bought this $4,000 computer, anybody could fix anything. Well, it was a good thing that we didn't jump on the bandwagon, because after this mechanic, and then you started seeing what they're looking at, you have to be a darn good mechanic and be very well schooled to keep up with the changes, what they're doing with it. So.
The price difference seems novel enough based on what you're telling me, they have to pick up that difference.
Right.
Well, we don't own International or anything. We've been with them buying those trucks for 15 years. Maybe more than that now.
30 years.
20?
I remember Ford way back when, so it's pushing.
Well, we got
25.
one Ford, which was the best truck we've ever run, but they don't make those anymore.
No.
Well, anybody over 50 will tell you they don't make anything like they used to.
No.
But, Mike, I'm willing to go with your recommendation on this with the Western Star through that street Freightliner, I believe.
Yeah, it's a Valley Freightliner or Cleveland Freightliner.
Well, that's a motion, I'll second.
That was a motion. We're losing our audience over here. She doesn't like the truck talk.
John?
Yeah.
PJ?
Yes.
Mike? Yes.
It's Cleveland Freightliner.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what the quotes were?
Yeah, sure. The International, $7,400, $85,026. The Mac at the other end at $109,020. And the White Western, I guess it's Western Star, it's not white anymore.
Yeah.
$91,20.
And we got Valley to buy. I'll make a motion, we go with Judco for the body. Our cost is $68,680.
Second.
John?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Mike? Yes.
Which, having looked at a lot of trucks down at the convention down there, that's about the going rate.
Yeah, the big thing of it is just emissions curve, and that looking at what we bought back with Emmerich's before they went to fluid, International is still staving it off, and how they're switching a lot of the rear end gear ratios to hit the compliances and all that. It's EPA's got their hands on a lot of the inner workings that you just keep finding out a little bit more.
I noticed we got a couple of the items in since the last meeting, the trailer and the
Yes.
floor sweeper.
Yep, the floor sweeper came in last Monday. We went and got the new trailer from JTI on, I believe it was Wednesday. And we went down and got the boom mower arm and brush cutting head from Kent, and we already put that on the tractor. And then we're just gonna disassemble.
Nope.
All right, let's do the motions again.
Okay, that was a motion to purchase the White Western Star through Cleveland Freightliner, $91,020.
Section.
You second. John? PJ?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And a motion to purchase a body through Jubco for $68,680.
John made that, I
John
seconded
made the
it.
motion, PJ seconded. John?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Thanks again, Mike.
You're welcome.
In the background.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Chief?
Just recommendations.
Pancakes this Sunday. And also March 4th, 8 to 12:30. Adults are $8, seniors are $6, and kids are $5.
And once again, how old are seniors?
I think it's 65.
Very old.
I just keep monitoring, because every year they get a year older. Just saying.
So, you got time, come enjoy some pancakes. That's all I have for report.
Mr. Troyan?
I don't have anything in particular, so don't concede my time.
Mr. Kavanaugh?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it along too.
I have a little presentation we prepared here called the 2018 Road Plan Update. So I'll invite everybody to sit back.
Mr. Everly, would you read please?
Well, this is probably, I was just trying to think of how many times, 7 or 8 times now we've presented this. And each year we started at a 3-year, we ended up at a 5-year, trying to, at the request of the county engineers. And it's been a very valuable tool for Emmerich and myself to plan which of the 78 subdivisions we can apply our money to, as well as which of what we call the township roads, which is our crossroads. So with that, we'll speed into it.
Okay, here we go, and this, we've embraced this years ago, the philosophy of keep as many roads as possible from declining in category. Both of our funds will be invested in keeping good roads good, and this is how do we implement the philosophy. It goes through a lot of maintenance aspects first, where we apply our push dollars, and you'll see that in every year that we do a road program, we do maintenance first. And I believe, Mr. Everly, you were down at a seminar somewhere where they started espousing this philosophy.
It was a Southern Ohio road contractor who, he espoused on this philosophy, and everybody looked at him like he was crazy, because the historic way is you spend all your money on your worst road, and the basic thing is a good road, you can spend money on it and keep it good. A bad road will always be bad, or worse. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to announce kind of a new step in our program. And that is, instead of a project taking 1 season to complete, we're going to try to complete it in 2 seasons. And there's a couple reasons for this. The biggest reason is if we have a wet spring and we can't get on the roads to do repairs, we may not get the roads properly prepared, and we have to turn around and turn them over to a contractor by the 15th so he can start to pave them in time. Under our new system, we're gonna do it in 2 years. So now we have a complete construction season, not just a half, to go out and do all of the preparation on a road. And that includes, I get that we have to identify the project, submit it to the engineers for engineering. We need to go out and make surface repairs. Now, we just purchased at the end of last year, beginning of this year, a machine that's going to help us speed those repairs considerably over what we've been doing. We also purchased a small excavator to speed up the ability to do culvert replacements. So in that first year, we're going to be doing those first items on there. Then in the second year, install a new roadway surface. And also, when we go out to bid for our roadway surface, contractor has an entire season to complete this project, which he may complete in 2 or 3 or 4 days or whatever. But he's not scrambling to do the job necessarily. He can do it in the 1st of July. He does not scrambling to do this in August or possibly in October because he's got enough work that he can't get it all done, and then you get rain and whatnot to get in the way.
What we're experiencing now as well is the CMP pipe, which is corrugated metal pipe under our roads. They've run their course, they're beyond their life cycle. We review with the engineers. Last year we did 1, 2, 3. I believe we did 3 on Taylor May alone. This year I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to do prior to the season, as well as the asphalt repair. And we're going to be proactive on these with the engineers as well, and be attacking these hopefully the year before with the piping as well, the drainage as well. And what this has done for us is we really had to scramble before that July 15th deadline to get all this work in, as well as other things that we do along the way.
This year's going to be especially a little bit tight because we're trying to do
2 years in one.
2 years of work in one half of a construction season. But at some point you have to make this change. But this is, just reviewing our benefits, which is you're going to get a better job done on your prep work. It's going to go through a full winter before you put a top coat on it. If there's a problem, it's going to get identified and it gets fixed. We double up our length of time that we can do a paving system. Culverts, sometimes there's several phases to getting some of these cross culverts in. And one of the typical areas, we went into Auburn Springs. We put in a fairly decent, how long was that thing? Probably 80 feet, Emmerich?
120 feet.
120 feet culvert, because we actually had water that was just flooding the entire cul-de-sac under not that much of a rain, running over the road surface. And we were able to, with some engineering and studying this thing, put this one culvert in, and then we said, well, we'll put this one in, even though they're recommending another one possibly. And as of this morning, the one culvert is solving the problem. And I mean, we're not even close to capacity on it. So I think it's the right way to go. And you also should get a more competitive price on the surface.
Right, and our season is extended.
Right.
As you said, we're not scurrying before July 15th. The asphalt plants typically don't shut down until November, sometime in November. So this gives us the ability to do these repairs and preparations a few more months during the construction season. Okay, Auburn Township maintains 54.031 miles of township roads. We do have 79 cul-de-sacs that we maintain. The cul-de-sacs do add a tenth of a mile to the length of the subdivision when we figure the maintenance costs in. That's what those surface as well.
And that's not included in the 54.
That's not
If
included.
you added that in there, our inventory would really go.
Correct, as they go from center of the yard. Auburn's 5-man team handles 10.8 miles per man. It's about the highest per man in the county. Okay, this is our road rating summary, and it's done in late turns, and actually, we're due now, as soon as we do get to spring here, we go and we rake the roads again after the winter, to see what type of damage we did have. One of the things this does for us, it points us in the right direction as to which roads we're attacking with crack seal, which roads would be drainage, which roads are going for paving. If you look at 7, it says new surface, no cracks. 6, minimal or some transverse cracking. Extensive transverse cracking is 5. Minimal alligatoring and fracturing transverse cracks. 4, 5, 6, and 7 in our scales are acceptable surfaces. Once we get to a 3 with the extensive alligatoring, fracturing, transverse cracks, that's where it goes into our resurface program, and we start to look at it where we can group that with other roads, proximity as well, close by to keep down any type of mobilization expenses. There's 2 is displacement of asphalt, where you actually see chunks of the road coming out, and the 1 is total surface failure. We do, at this point in time, have no 1s or 2s, I believe. We have 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s. You can see where we're at right now, and this is current as of today, as a matter of fact, with an update. 5, which is good surface, primarily we're running good, so we do have a couple 2s on there, okay. So the majority of our roads are falling into the acceptable surface classification that we have. Oh, that's Google Earth. If you go on Google Earth, you'll see this on Whisperwood Circle that they actually caught us down there doing some work down around that cul-de-sac. It was pretty interesting to see the car go by and take that picture. We waved, I didn't think they would be on there, but it is. Plan preventive maintenance, most cost-effective strategy to keep the roads good. Maintain berms, what we need to do, you'll see us out there cutting berms to allow the water to get off the road surface and enter the ditch. Ditch the roads and maintain the proper drainage. And once again, we do rely upon the residents as well to alert us if there is a failure somewhere or something needs taken care of. That goes on our RDRs, residential ditch request. And to maintain the road surface integrity, which is basically keeping it sealed up.
You wintered the icing. This has been fun. An interesting thing is that it doesn't take any more salt for us to tackle a 12-inch snowstorm than it does a quarter-inch ice storm. We use the same amount of salt. And so we are constantly, while we're out driving, the guys are constantly, we don't have automatic settings on our salt spreaders. They're constantly manipulating the salt spreaders to get the salt down where you need it with the proper amount that you need. And we run anywhere from 400 to 900 pounds of salt per mile. And that actually comes from the Salt Institute as their recommendation. And we've been following this for, gosh,
12 years now.
12 years now, is it? When we first started to go to pure salt. And we're finding that we're able to burn off our roads just as quickly as people are using considerably more salt and putting more hours on the roads. And so I applaud the road guys, because salt is a massive expense to us. Not only do you have to buy the salt You have to pay a guy to drive the truck. You have to have, as we just saw earlier, a pretty expensive truck. And the minimal amount that you can cut, anything you can do to cut this down is saving large dollars. But we still have an obligation to try to burn off. Our goal is to be black roads 8 hours at the end of an event. And I think you'll see that this year, I don't think it's ever been 8 hours before we burned off the roads before 8 hours, after 8 hours. It was always before. So I thank the guys for taking care of that. Where the other trustees, I know can comment. We have very minimal overtime. Very minimal overtime. And many times when neighbors are out with a full crew, we're out with 2 guys doing cleanup and things like that. So it's a big deal. This year's been a little dicey because salt's been hard to get it's getting the trucking of the salt to our place. We've got orders now that have been on order for 4 weeks.
Yeah, at least, and we have another 300-ton order in, but we have another 500-ton outstanding that we can acquire. That's our committed amount that we need to purchase. One of the things we have now, we have about 300 in the dome, 200 to 300, somewhere like there. I'm anticipating delivery. I just got another allocation for this week from Q. They're sending out allocations now. I think it's like another 50-ton on Wednesday. Something, I believe so. But in the end here, looking at the 526-ton average for February, couple that with the 113-ton average for March, I think we're looking pretty good unless we have a catastrophic March or April. In the end, with the other 500-ton we're anticipating receiving here, we still will have salt left over from the 2017 contract in 2018. So I think we're doing pretty good.
So at the end of this year, depending on where we are, we're going to fill up the dome with last year's salt.
Well, I'll have about 300 or 400 tons.
No, we're going to get more. We're going to finish out that contract. So one of the things that we're kind of talking about here is we need to be able to store a couple of thousand, and it'd be nice to have 2,500 tons, which will take care of even a tough winter.
Worst case scenario.
And that takes you completely out of the hands of, well, we don't have any trucks, we don't have any salt.
The mine can't keep up.
There's a myriad of excuses that can be thrown at us, and we need to cut that down to as small as possible. Budget-wise, as you guys know, we've committed 1.2 million, which is the amount of the road levies to the road surfacing program. Basically, we've got the 3 1 mil levies and the 1 2 mil levy. And then, of course, we do get inside millage and gas tax and license plates taxes, but that's not enough to run the road department on. You have to have these levies. We are continually spending, trying to bid out as close to that every year. So basically, when you reduce this all down, asphalt doesn't last as long as it did when I started in this business. Of course, a lot of things aren't like when I started in this business, but you got 54 miles of road at $250,000 a mile. Over 14 years, that's basically $1 million every year. It has to be committed. And those are $15. We're hoping that things are gonna stay the same this year. One of the other issues that we've got to do, and the chip seals have been great to us, they've provided good bases. We have chip seals that are anywhere from 8 to 10 inches thick, which make a good base, but they're not very efficient when you look at putting down the cost of chip seal comparing it to pavement. So we've got to find a way to keep paving chip sealed roads. And this is an older slide, but it hasn't, the message is still the same. It's way, way, way cheaper to run an asphalt road. It's way, way cheaper to install a chip seal road. But if you look at the cost over the life of the road, it's considerably more to maintain asphalt. And so right now we do have all of our roads are surfaced roads. But the more of those chips we can get rid of, the better off we are.
And as with the chip, they recommend a 2-year rotation, but because of our budgeting, we can only do them on the 3, sometimes 4.
Right.
And we're getting the life out of them. Our 14-year life cycle for the roads, we're still, right now, in the position trying to take them to 18. They actually recommend paving at 13 before
The county does theirs,
the county
yeah.
does, but we don't find that possible at this point in time. There's your savings. over the
There's your
life cycle.
savings. It's cheaper to maintain an asphalt road than a chip seal road. Has a longer life, and you start to see it adds up pretty quickly.
And we still have 13 miles of chip seal road in our inventory as of today.
Yeah. Boy, if we could just get that down to 5 or 6, we would have so much more money we could put towards asphalt.
And this is where we're at, choosing to keep the chip seal with the rotations, costs us an additional $1,674,400 over the next 14 years. The faster we convert chip seal to asphalt, we realize the savings, which we can use in resurfacing. One of our challenges right now are the roads that were put in the 90s and early 2000s, where we were inundated with subdivision after subdivision. They've all run their life cycle at the same time, same course of time, and right now we're picking those apart and taking care of those. And I do believe we're looking, hopefully, in the next 2-3 years possible to entertain the idea of another conversion.
Hopefully, we're going to save on our repairs with these 2 pieces of equipment we've just bought. Only the proof will be in the pudding, but when we rented the little excavator, we proved that we could do cross culverts and really cut that work down. And we haven't done the cold planing yet, but we've really studied other people who have, and it looks like we will save. And this is just, once again, looking at our yearly progression. I don't like to say this because Carl's going to throw something at me, but concrete has been a real tough one for us. We never maintained the concrete roads back years and years ago, and we really are paying a price right now where we're having to go in and every year spend anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 replacing panels. But we are, we're gaining ground on those.
Once again, the graphs are showing our ratings and where the roads stand every year. And once again, the majority of the roads are an acceptable surface. This is the actual 5-year road projects, our proposed plan. First and foremost, you will always see crack seal. We attack that first, so we apply our monies there. We always choose $50,000, and we go a little bit above, a little bit below, depending on what type of season we had. Actually, 2 years ago, there was so little cracking, we didn't do a crack seal program. We didn't have enough
know
out
that that's
there.
going to be the case this year.
Yeah, this year will be a little bit different.
This deep
so.
freeze. However, we do bid the roads individually.
We do line item roads, this way we can pick and choose. It is a pain for the contractors who go out there and look at each road, but we feel it serves us best this way. We personally know the roads, and if we feel we can let one sit another year and pull it out of the program, then we have the ability to do that instead of just having one lump sum contract.
So I think last year we did 74,000.
That was 64,000.
64,000.
Chip seal project, this will be Thorpe Road, we call it 1 and 2, which is from its limits, Taylor May to Harner, Portage Line, and Bartholomew from 44 to Auburn. This will receive a layer of 67s choked in with 8s. That's $150,000 for the 3.6 miles there. There are 2 cross culvert pipes on these sections of roads that we talked with the engineers about, and we'll probably do those later in the year. I'm imagining when we get the chip in there though.
Let's just say too, we're going to do a single pass. Literally, the chipper goes down in front of your house. They're there and gone in 15 minutes.
That's right.
And there's no center crack, and it saves about 20% in materials by using single pass versus multiple
You
pass.
know it's not what, like 2 days or 2 weeks ahead of time.
We put signs up too, it'll be chipped on or about.
And
Very few complaints
if you
about
don't
it.
drive 100 miles an hour right after they put the chip down, you probably won't get that emulsion on your car, but if you do, you will.
Okay, these are surface projects. You'll see Widgeon Drive there. And I believe that was put 2002, is that the last paving there? Yeah. We have the asphalt surface, we have the updated drainage, full and partial depth repairs. These repairs that you see on here, this is the challenge again, as Mr. Everly said, that we have 2 years worth of project we're trying to put into 1 year. So we did sit with the engineers, we came into agreement that the smartest thing for the township to do this year would to be within this paving project, roll the full and partial depth repairs into the project, let the contractors handle that, then we'll already start on next year's projects then. And then this should be the only year where we have this reflected in there. Estimated cost for Widgeon is $140,075. I don't have, the drainage there is primarily ditching. Auburn Springs Drive, we will have some ditching possibly outside of the road right away. We'll have to secure a work agreement and open up a drainage channel there. There will be some more full and partial depth repairs there. We did visit it, the engineers did as well. We did some last year, and there's a few more to do before we surface it. We already did the cross culvert pipe in that section, so we're good there. Wingate Drive does have a cross culvert pipe that we need to replace prior. The township will be doing the cross culvert pipes in these projects. The drainage basically is just cleaning up inlets, outlets. Full depth repairs are in there again. And then the Taylor May Road project, the tree removal's done, the stumps are ground. The cross culvert pipes were taken under ourselves. The gas line is going in there, and they're moving rather quickly. So they should be well out of the way and finished up and be well down the road on the other section by the time we do any construction there. And each of these reflects about 220 to 250 in surface cost itself. This is the work that the township will be performing in-house, preparing these roads for next year. For this will be 2019 paving schedule. You'll see the repairs, the drainage prep, everything's broken up there. Woodacre Trail, very interesting. I have tree removal there. So there are trees within the right of way that do need to come down that are in the ditch line, there's small saplings. There's some larger trees we need to have taken out. We will be revisiting the cross culvert pipe drainage with the engineers as we go through this, and we'll see if we need to add some changes here. Taylor May Road, we call it 3, that is from 44 to Center. That section was a total reconstruction in 2005, so all the cross culvert pipes are intact, they'll be in good shape, the ditches are deep enough, not a lot of tree removal there, just a little bit of cleanup in the ditches itself. Concrete pad replacement has been going long. We keep it at 15,000 or under. Shadowwood Circle, Whisperwood, Lucky Bell. I'll visit that with the contractor, and we'll choose some of the paths, the ones that are naturally doing the worst, or if they're rocking too much, and we'll have those replaced. Here is the summary of the 2018 proposed. We're at $1,101,805. Typically, after estimates, after jobs, we do come in a little under. Yes, yeah, we do. Well, we typically do. We had one year where we did have a 9% unexpected bump.
There was a couple of years there when oil was moving all over the place.
You're right too, when we had that, yeah. That's been taken out of the contract that I do. So that's $1,000,001. Here's 19. Once again, we start with the 50,000 crack seal. Concrete pad replacements up at the top there. Chip seal will be Franks and Wing Road. One of the challenges on Wing Road, we did contemplate a conversion on Wing Road. We did have a discussion with the engineer. There are 2 places in Wing Road where it meanders about 10 feet off center. And one of the things when we do a surface conversion is they like to see it right to center, which is actually what they're doing out here on Washington Street as well. It's one of the things we could talk about, but it was taken out of the chip seal program when we did Franks Road a couple years ago. We re-immersed it in it until we can make a decision along with the engineer, something that's palatable with the township and the engineers as well.
Rick, I don't want to, Mike got it on the way in, but there's, just for everybody's information, there's some extra zeros coming up in the next few years of estimated.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, there was a few of them.
There's a few of them.
Yeah.
87 million?
Gets better.
Oh, that's 87 million.
Yeah, it gets better.
Yeah, Nancy got us some zeros.
She got carried away with the zeros.
I'm pretty sure it's not 87 million.
Yeah, we're not gonna spend,
No, this is 874,200, so.
because we're not gonna spend $2.5 billion.
Thanks for being so diligent.
Yeah, thank you, yeah, this is 874,200. You'll see that your taxes are gonna go way up. In the asphalt resurface, you'll see where we did the preparation the year before. Sterling Glen, Horseshoe and Woodacre, and Taylor May are in there. Once again, you'll see 2020. Now we're starting on the year after that. Stafford 1, Chanticleer, Chateau, Champlain, and Cinnabar are all up there for repairs and culvert pipes to be evaluated. And what we're doing here at the 874,000, we're leaving room to anticipate at least up to $100,000 worth of work and the things that we're going to do in-house.
And I'm just gonna have one more question
Yes,
for you that it should fit at some point. You know, Valley, you can't anticipate emergencies because that's why they're emergencies. But when that pipe let go on Valley Road here a couple, 3 years, two, 3 more pipes down there, right?
Yes.
That you gotta assume they're in the same condition as the one that went.
Yeah, we have
Are we good with those plans and then we replace that?
Yeah, as far as right now, the one thing that was very ingenious of Akron and whoever platted that out, wherever there's a cross culvert pipe that's 100 foot long, all of a sudden the road right away becomes 100 foot wide, excuse me. So every right-of-way was made to accommodate the pipe to put it under our watch. So we did revisit those with the engineers, and we'll be watching them. There's a couple there that they're looking at. I think what they consider a bridge that they might turn back into a culvert pipe.
So the method we did is okay?
Yeah, that what we do.
All right.
Yeah, what we did was absolutely fine. Worked out good. I know the other one's about 9 feet deep.
At one point, we had an estimate on replacing an earth with pipe, and that wasn't gonna happen.
Right. You see on here now, joint project, Auburn Township and Troy. We're gonna entertain some tree removal this year. And, we did put in for engineering for the cross culvert pipes. And that would, be, once again, between the two townships shared expense on that. And, our whole design on this is to get some, asphalt surface down there. Even though we do have a 40-foot right-of-way, I believe you did have a conversation with the engineers, and the engineers are the ones that said, why don't you guys make an asphalt? So we're taking it and running with it.
So basically, at the end of 2020, Taylor May will be totally redone.
Yeah, 50,000 crack seal project again, concrete pad, chip seal. You see Stafford and Valley are up there again, and that's on a 3-year rotation. Asphalt resurface, Stafford 1. These are the roads that we repaired the prior year in 19. Stafford, Chanticleer, Chateau, Champlain, and Cinnabar. Those at that point, you can see those are, we babied those from 1999 and 2000, but those will be 20 and 21 years old by the time that they get their surface on there. And then Cinnabar itself is 1994, so that's lasted quite a long time. Not a lot of houses, not a lot of traffic. One of the things that I have on here, Cooper, Jensen, and Moreland, it's deeper. We understand that the roads are going south there, and the build-up's not complete. I got a couple more drive permits, and we got that in 2020, and there's something that's along those, and with Derby, Colchester, for some reason those roads are failing too early in that area. We don't know what's in if it's in something in the base there or what's going on, but they're failing too early. Brookfield Drive, there is a large cross culvert pipe in there, down there, the cul-de-sac we got taken care of. And Queens and Barth 2. And then you see the joint project, the asphalt surface, 100,000, that's in today's dollars, about what it would cost for the surface. Okay, 2021, we're chipping Thorpe and Barth again, crack seal, and once again you see the roads that we did prior with the repairs. And one of the things that we have going on here is Sanctuary, Golden Pond really are taking a hit during the winters with the transverse cracks, where there's a lot more than 1 every 20 feet, and they really are heaving more than any other roads that we have. And we're going to visit the drainage down there first as per the engineer's recommendation, and then we're going to go in and look at a possible surface in 22. $834,800,000. We are flush with money. Okay, and this is 2022. And you'll see again, always lead with the crack seal, the chip seal once again, Franks and Wing. We don't know where Wing will be then with our conversations with the engineers. Hopefully a possible conversion, and then the resurface on the other. Once again, when we get into year 4 and 5 of these projects, we truly don't know what the roads are going to be like that far down the line. Is basically, you look at the age, you look at the condition they are now, and it's for budgetary reasons that we put these up there, so at least we have an idea of what we're looking at.
Well, basically, since we started this, we started in '94 with 34 miles of gravel road and 4 drainage. We've added 20 miles of roadway through new cul-de-sacs. And so actually, we've made some pretty good strides here in the last 10 years, and we absolutely have to keep this on this path. If you just take one of those years and don't do anything, say you do nothing, the township sits on a very, very slippery slope, because to catch up is just about virtually impossible. We're not running this flush with cash. We're spending everything we can. We're trying to get equipment to get more bang for our buck. Our labor costs are the cheapest there are in the county, where we go out and we're running a 5-man department. I don't think we can be more efficient. Thankfully, the residents have understood what we've been trying to do, and they've been voted with confidence. And we're going to continue. We don't have any plans to change the going out every year and asking for a, hey, are we getting the things done that you like that we're getting done? So to keep the residents involved in the constant funding of this. That's one of the reasons we project out 5 years to look into the future. Is there something in the future that could just bankrupt us? And there are a couple things that actually do loom in the future that we have to attack. But to do general keep our head above the water, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Okay.
So that kind of concludes the program. Emmerich put a hell of a lot of effort into this, along with the other guys. Planning is probably the one thing that we excel at. And we are definitely planning for 5 years into the future. We do work very closely with the county engineer. As a matter of fact, Emmerich and I had a meeting that lasted almost 4 hours with the deputy HR, 10 days ago, and going over everything. They work with us as partners, and very, very thankful for that relationship. So that'll take care of that. So, Mr. May, what do you have for us?
Fred, if you don't mind, John, can I step in for just a second here?
Sure.
Since it was such a hot topic at the last meeting, we put together a letter here to Akron officials. It's a draft. A couple paragraphs. Several of our residents have expressed concern over proposed logging on 42 acres Akron-owned land in Auburn Township. Residents are concerned about negative impact on water quality, harm to natural habitats and endangered species, impact on local roadways, and potential negative impact on home values. We believe that open and sincere dialogue would be beneficial to all the stakeholders involved, so we're reaching out to the City of Akron to encourage its representatives to communicate with our residents and address their concerns. Feel free to contact Trustee Mike Troyan or any of our elected officials. So that'll be going out. And I can tell you that there's been a lot of information sent in that some of it's a little bit of opinion, and I think Nancy's really kind of struggled to keep just the pertinent information that she's putting on our website, along with for people that have these concerns. And also there's a letter here. We contacted Sugar and Watershed Partners, who does some land management stuff for ODNR, which is Do It, handles all of Akron's properties now. And they indicate their concern, and they also, I think there's been one since this that indicates that what's been done has been in a responsible fashion, and I think that's on the website. Just trying to keep that just as an informational page as to what's going on and what we have. So that's all.
Long before any of this was brought up, when we were first notified by Akron, Emmer contacted the road deputy in charge of the field projects, Nick Goris. He put a plan together, action plan together. We did logging on Shaw Road last year, the year before. A lot of logs came out of Troy, went down Shaw Road. County monitored it. I think the number was something like 95% of all the trucks were underweight. But they once again will be out with the scales. They also will make sure that the contractor has a maintenance bond, performance bond on the road, and Nick will monitor this for us as he does any county project. So I'm very confident that we have that base covered. Okay, do you have anything else?
I have in front of you your regular financial reports, your fund summary report, revenue summary report, and appropriation summary report. And also payment listing of warrants in front of you, warrants 4311 through 4342, totaling $33,266.45. And I need to ask the board for supplemental appropriation. I'll go ahead and read this resolution into the record. Resolution 2018-03 for supplemental appropriations. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Auburn Township, Geauga County, Ohio, that the board finds it necessary to make the following supplemental appropriation of the general fund: $1,000 to account 1,110,342, postage to pay for township mailings.
So moved.
Second.
John?
Yes.
BJ?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay, Maple Shade Restoration Project, things are crawling along very swiftly. Now that we do have some preliminary information started to finally get generated. Joe Drake from JFD was over today looking at the cemetery area, so hopefully we will get something rolling for get some plans finalized here to get something done this season.
Kind of starting at the driveway that's now blocked off, right? That's the way it looks.
Well, the general idea right now is to use part of the existing roadway as a one-way road.
Right.
That you'll enter in off of Washington Street, exit onto Auburn Road, and that we'll create somewhere approximately 20 parking spaces, 21 parking spaces. This is our first layout of this, so I'm not going to say, but we might be able to get 25 parking spaces in the whole scheme of things, which would be a massive increase in parking. You have to remember that we're going to lose parking over at the old town hall. So whatever we add here is going to be used as well as for people that rent town hall. It's going to be a bit of an inconvenience, but there's just no way around it. But we're getting a little workout on the drainage right now. The culvert or the storm sewers are working fine out in the front. We're directing a lot of water out of the east side of the building where it was running up to the edge of the building, we cut a little path to the one sewer connection here at the corner of the building. It's working real well to keep the water from getting up on the building till we could start getting this project underway. But it's gonna be a rather big change. We'll have plantings, of course, in the cemetery, and anxious to see what these guys come up with.
And that honors the parade ground.
Yeah, that's all over there, right? Yeah, so, and hopefully we'll get that drained so there won't be any years where it's underwater when we're trying to have our ceremony up there. And so, yeah, I think by the end of the year we'll have a project. So, the township welcome signs, how are we doing? Any news on those?
As far as I know, we're still waiting for concept designs for some of the simpler signs.
Okay. Reduced load limit signs. As you know, every year we go through this. There's frost very deep in the roads. We've reduced all the loads by county order, 33%. How are you doing on signs?
You have a requisition, we put up what we had. We did take care of Bartholomew Road, the one that we're talking about that's sensitive to the slogging. That's all marked off, and then I have a requisition tonight to the order tomorrow. We'll do the rest.
By the end of the week, we'll have them all up. Okay. The Girl Scouts are having an awards ceremony on the 25th.
Well, I will be in attendance,
Okay.
so I can bring up any of our proclamations
Okay.
presented at that time.
Yeah, and there's a letter here, I saw it. It's a request for a leader, something, that's what the,
Yeah, they went,
yeah, where is that?
It's in the back.
3-4 hours in Adam Hall. I can't remember the name of the outing was.
Yeah, it says, letter, it's, my name is Amy Panetta, I'm Service Unit Director for Kansas Girl Scouts, reaching out to see if we might be able to use Adam Hall for our leader-daughter event in May. Will involve a craft project and a meal. Possible dates we're looking for are May 6th, 12th, and 19th, but our dates are somewhat flexible, 3 to 4 hours, including setup and cleanup. Please let us know if it's possible for us to use Adam Hall at our event. Appreciate your help.
We appreciate what the Girl Scouts do. I'm going to make a motion that we make that building available for that meeting at no charge.
Yes. I'll second. Nancy coordinate with her to see which dates are available. If you would, sir.
John,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Okay, public comment. We're going to go into executive session to consider a sale of some property. And I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Will there be any public action on that as a result of the discussion?
There'll be no action taken.
No action is taken tonight.
John,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.